22-year-old David Yanis is suing 23-year-old Travis Pexey for vandalizing his BMW with a crowbar. David claims the incident started when Travis picked a fight with him outside a nightclub.
All rise. Now, this is case number 161 on the calendar in the matter of Yanis versus Pexey. Good morning, Judge.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good.
Parties have been sworn in, Yanni. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Yanis, it is your claim that the defendant, after a night of drinking, are you smiling for a reason?
Oh, no.
Good. Damaged your car, attacked your car. You want him to pay for the damage. Mr. Pexey says that you actually attacked him and ran him over with your car. He was just protecting himself. So why don't you tell me your version of the events? First, when did it happen?
It happened in Saddle Ranch on Saturday, the 13th of February. And what happened was when we were walking, after the club was closed at 2 o'clock, we were walking to the parking lot.
Who's we?
Me and my friend Scott.
So tell me what happened as you were leaving the club.
Okay, so when I was walking towards the car, Travis bumped into me. And when I said, like, you know...
Did you know him before?
No, I didn't know him. That was the first time I ever seen him. He bumped into me, and he just started, like, cussing at me, like, saying, you know, what the F, and this, what's your problem? And I was like, what? And, you know, I'm way bigger than Travis. I was like, man, get out of my face. So then he walked up to me even more aggressive towards me. So when he walked up towards me, I didn't want to hit him. So I grabbed him in the headlock, and I was holding him in the headlock, and then one of his friends were coming up to me. And I was like, you know, it was me by myself at the time because I didn't see my friends there. I was like, man, tell your friend to get back. So when I was holding him...
Are you thirsty already?
Sorry. When I was holding, I told his friend, get back. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't want to start anything with you guys, get back. So that's when Scott showed up, my witness right here. He showed up, and he's like, come on, man, let's get out of here. So I pushed Travis towards his friend, and that's when the other guy, Andy, came, and he's like, come on, let's go, it's not worth it. So I was like, all right, let's get out of here. So I sat in the back seat, Scott sat on the side next to me, and then Andy was driving. Andy was the driver. And we were parked, like, you know, with the front end facing out of the parking. So when we tried to get out this way, his friend stood in front of the car. So what Andy did is he came back, and then he went that way to try to avoid him, to get away from him. But in the parking lot, you can only go down one way. You know how the on-ramp is at City Walk? So
Do I know? No, but I can sort of imagine you. You were explaining it very well.
Okay, so we ended up going in a big circle to come out in the same downward on-ramp where he was still at because his car was, like, kind of by there. So he comes out, and I guess that's when Scott saw him when he came out, and he threw a crowbar at the car.
Just a second. Did you see him throw the crowbar?
No, I didn't see him.
Your last name, sir?
Lauby.
Mr. Lauby, you were sitting in the front passenger seat?
No, the back driver's seat.
Okay. Who was sitting in the front passenger seat?
David. I was sitting in the back, Your Honor.
Alone?
Yes. Andy was driving and David was shotgun in his car. Because I just jumped in the back
and
he got in the front.
I don't remember that, really.
Okay. Tell me what you saw.
So when we were coming down the off-ramp, I looked, and out the corner of my eye, I see something being thrown. So I looked, and then I just ducked because the window was right there, and a crowbar hit the back quarter panel of the car. And then that's when we just took off, and then we ended up getting pulled over.
Perfect. Sit down.
Thank you.
What's next?
Okay, so now when we're leaving City Walk and we get down by the metro station, which is across the street from City Walk, we get pulled over by a sheriff. He pulls us over. He takes us out of the car one by one. He starts asking us questions like, do we have weapons or anything like that? And I was like, no, you can search me and my car's clean. You know, he searches everything. What he does, he puts us in 3 separate cop cars. Then he takes me out of the cop car and makes me stand next to my car. And that's when a security vehicle came, I guess, with Travis to identify me, to point me out. So the sheriffs go and they asked us to go back to the substation to write a statement.
And you went back in police cars to write a statement.
And they left my car there. So when we're in the police station, I'm writing my statement. He says, okay, I'm going to believe you. And he lets me go. And Scott was still being asked questions. So I got to leave before him. And I was so worried about my car that I went before anybody else to go get my car. When I'm going down the hill and I see that someone is standing on top of my car, it's Travis. And I recognize him because I knew exactly what he looked like already, and I knew what he was wearing, and I knew what his car looked like. So when I start running towards my car, I see a better view, and he's standing on top of my car with a crowbar hitting the window, bashing the window in. And I go, hey, what are you doing? I start running toward the car. He jumps in the car, and while he's taking off, he says, that's what you get, you know, mother F. And he takes off.
I knew what you meant even before you said it.
So, all right. So, and that's how I knew it was him. So what I did is I jumped right back in the car, and I went straight back to the police station, and I filed a police report.
Do you have pictures of your car, sir?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see.
These are all the pictures right here. That was taken by the insurance.
Did you have the car fixed?
No, all I could afford was to fix the windows, so I just fixed some of the windows.
All right, Mr. Pexey, let me hear your version of the events, sir. What time had you arrived at the club?
Approximately 1:15, 1:30.
And where had you been prior to 1:15?
Where I live in Santa Clarita.
I don't hear you.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Where I live in Santa Clarita.
You were at your house?
Well, I was picking up these
Listen to me. I have a question, and I don't want you to start thinking, machinating about the answer.
Okay.
You arrive at a club at 1:15 in the morning. My question is a simple one. Where had you been prior to 1:15 in the morning?
Picking up my significant other at the time.
Where had you been prior to picking up your significant other?
Getting ready to go out Saturday night.
At midnight?
At my house.
At midnight?
Yeah, it took the girls actually a really long time to decide where we were going to go.
Mr. Pexy.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe, sir, that you got to a club that was going to be closing, or you were going to leave in a half hour at 1:15, 1:30 in the morning when you were out in the parking lot at 2 o'clock. Do you understand what I'm saying, sir?
What?
The girls didn't take that long to get their hair done. Now, had you been at your house? Had you been at another club? Had you been out for dinner?
That's actually what I went there for, was to eat dinner.
And you ate dinner in a half hour?
Yeah, we were...
I'm asking you a question.
Yes.
You went to the club and you ate dinner?
Yes, ma'am.
In a half hour?
Yes, ma'am. What? I didn't finish.
What? You didn't what? No,
Well,
I mean, you get to the club, you
club
got to look at a
closes-
menu.
The club closes...
You got to look at a menu, then you have to order, then somebody has to cook it. And all that took place in a half hour, and you were outside in the parking lot at 2 o'clock in the morning. I just want to understand what you're saying to me, sir. So, what did you have for dinner, Mr. Pexy?
Bacon cheeseburger, fries with a side of ranch, and a Grey Goose cranberry with the lime.
And
that
you
I
had
actually
that,
spilled
and
all
you
over
got
my
there
dinner.
at 1:15 in the morning. How many people were you with?
Me, my girlfriend at the time, and my friend Justin and his girlfriend at the time.
So 4 of you.
But I was the only one that was eating.
You mean your other 3 friends were just watching you eat?
No, they went there to drink.
Not you.
I actually don't drink alcohol that much.
Well, that much. I'm glad you mentioned that much, sir, because according to you, you had ordered a Grey Goose and cranberry juice. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I do have relatively good hearing. Not perfect, but relatively good
Yes,
hearing.
ma'am.
Go ahead, Mr. Pexy. You see where we're going, sir? It's not going to be easy. You're going to be glad you took that drink of water.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Giannis yells at my friend, "Yo, this is a jack. I got a gun and I'm gonna kill this fool if you come near me." And I was just kind of like, oh my God, is he really gonna shoot me?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David Yanez claims fellow clubgoer Travis Pexy vandalized his car with a crowbar. Travis claims David threatened to shoot him.
Go ahead.
Well, so we got into Saddle Ranch, and I don't even know if this is relevant, but I don't like eating fast food, so I wanted to eat at a restaurant, a sit-down place, and there's not...
Maybe relevant to your mother, Mr. Pexy. It is irrelevant to me.
So that was one of the only places that was open that late to eat. So we went there to eat and grab a few drinks before heading home. Pretty much I ordered my food at the bar, at the back bar. That's why it didn't take that long, because it was at the bar. It wasn't like I sat down. Oh, sorry. I don't speak fast. I'm not a very...
Get used to it, sir. I have other things to do today.
Sorry.
This is not exactly the Scopes trial.
So I spilled my drink actually all over my dinner on the way to the table, so I actually didn't really get to eat most of it because it was soaked in my drink. And as I was finishing, they escorted us out of...
Finishing what?
My meal. Well, what
I
was
thought you couldn't eat your meal because your drink spilled on it.
Well, I mean, I had drove all the way down there for food, so I just salvaged what I could, I guess.
I'm trying to salvage the rest of your case, sir. Could we move on, please?
So they kicked us out at 2, and we were walking to the car. It was raining a little bit, so I gave my sweater that I was wearing to one of the girls because they just had dresses on.
You mean they got all dressed up to go to a place for 45 minutes to watch you eat?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They're very high maintenance. So.
Go ahead. No, you're high maintenance.
And
They're
so,
not high maintenance. If 3 people are watching one person eat, and they have spent an evening getting ready, because according to you, it takes them a long time to get ready.
Yes, ma'am.
And the entire evening was spent watching you eat a soaked hamburger. They're not high maintenance, sir. You are.
Well, I know I am.
Now let's move on, Mr. Pexy.
So we walked back to the car, which was parked on the opposite side of Saddle Ranch. And my car was backed into the spot that we were parked in. It was in a parking garage. And everyone was getting into the car, and I was the driver because I was sober, because I don't drink.
He drank cranberry.
But I guess you could say I did consume alcohol. So I was getting into my car, with the door was open, and I was facing inward to put on the sweater because it was cold and raining. And
So you took it off the girlfriend?
yes, ma'am. after everyone had gotten into the car.
Move on!
And then as I was putting my sweater on, a person approached me and, well, actually like a black BMW pulled up, because I was face out, pulled up approximately like 2 spots up the garage for me. And I was standing getting my sweater on, and somebody came and tapped me and was like, hey, I need to talk to you. And I looked over my shoulder, and it was a person I had never seen before, and it was Mr. Giannis. And I replied to him like, excuse me, I do not know you. You know, what do you need to talk to me about? And he more aggressively then said, I need to talk to you right now. He might have cursed, but I don't really feel the need to use that language. And then as he did that, he kind of twirled me so that my back was to him and grabbed me with his left arm around my throat. And my friend in the car thought that he knew me and that he was just kind of like messing with me like, hey, yo, what's up, how you doing? But it actually turned out that he was trying to choke me out unconscious. And once he figured out that, oh, this guy's not messing with him, he's actually choking him, then my friend got out of the car. And at that time, I was trying to like get breath back into my lungs. Mr. Giannis yells at my friend, yo, this is a jack. I got a gun and I'm gonna kill this fool if you come near me. And he reaches into his waistline. And I was just kind of like, oh my God, is he really gonna shoot me? So I kind of reached back to where his hand was because he was still choking me. And I reached back and there wasn't anything there. And so I looked directly at my friend and I said, hey, he doesn't have a gun. And then he pulled his hand out of his waistline and put it to my head like this. And I was just thinking to myself like, what? And then I went to spin out because he was still choking me. And as I went to spin out, he like grabbed my sweater and then the sweater got ripped off, and this is the sweater I was wearing. It's like all ripped. And as it ripped off, he grabbed me by 2 hands by my hair, which obviously isn't that hard to grab, and started to proceed to drag me towards the black BMW. And my friend that got out of the car grabbed my sweater.
Fine. All right, let's move on, please. I got it. I got your picture. What I don't understand, Mr. Pexy, is the following, sir. After this interchange happened between the two of you, irrespective of who I believe, there came a time when you were free, and Mr. Giannis was in his car.
Yeah,
Was in his car. And according to you, this brute, who may or may not have had a gun, who assaulted you without provocation, was leaving. Now I want you to tell me, because I read your answer with some interest, what you did next.
After I yanked my head out of his hands.
Oh, your head's out of his hands, he's in his car, and he's moving away.
And like he said, it was in a parking structure, so he had to go down, make a left, and then another left, and come back by my car. And I ran and grabbed a crowbar from my car, and I was going to get his license plate number.
Okay, now that's what I want. That's what I want. So you ran to your car and got a crowbar.
Yes, ma'am.
In what hand were you holding it?
The right one.
And what were you doing with your left hand?
Running.
And you were doing this in order to get his license plate number?
Because he was...
Shh. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you say in your answer. Now, in what hand were you holding the pencil?
My cell phone, actually.
What hand were you holding the pencil in?
I didn't have a pencil.
And in what hand were you holding a piece of paper in?
I have a, type.
See what you're doing with this? See? So what I want to know is, Mr. Pexy, how were you going to get his license plate number with a crowbar?
Well, that was actually just
running
to protect
with a crowbar.
Myself. I actually ran just over to the alley and stopped running. And then as he proceeded to come towards me, and the car swerved at me and ran over my...
How were you going to get his license plate number, sir, which was your intention?
After he ran my foot over, I wrote his license plate down in my phone.
You have the phone with you?
Yeah.
Show me his license plate number in your phone.
I don't have it in here, but I could show you, things to write.
No. I want you to show me his license plate number that you wrote down in your phone.
I don't have it, actually.
Now, moving on from your taking the crowbar and smashing his car...
Yes, ma'am.
You did not, in fact, go to the hospital that day for your foot, did you?
No, the EMTs came.
My question is, you did not go to the hospital about your run-over foot.
Like in an ambulance?
Like in an anything.
Oh, no.
Like in a car.
Yeah.
Anything. You didn't go to the hospital.
No, ma'am.
And he's driving a BMW.
Yeah.
Pretty heavy car to run over your foot.
Yeah, I've got strong bones.
Okay. Now, after he rode over your foot, I want you to tell me what you did to his car.
Well, I just hit it that one time as he ran over my foot, and then I went to fill out police reports and stuff.
Yeah, and so it's your statement that you never went back to his car with a crowbar that you retrieved.
Oh, I didn't. No.
No. And you don't know who did?
No.
Can I see your bill for fixing up your car?
You think I could do that to a car?
It's on there also.
Oh,
There's
fine,
a little
thank
tab
you.
on there.
Not only do I think you could, I know you did.
I weigh like 135 pounds.
That's why you don't use your body, sir. That's why you used a crowbar. If you were a little taller and a little heavier, you could have used your body. Could have kicked it. But instead, you got a crowbar to take down his license plate number. What year BMW is this?
It's a
one?
94.
It's a 1994. It's 13 years old. It's not worth $4,700.
That's the damages from what the insurance gave me because the car was considered a total loss, so they wouldn't pay anything for the car. I have to actually fix it myself.
Okay, so you fixed the car.
Yeah, basically.
You fixed the car.
So
how much did it cost you to fix the car, sir?
All I fixed was the windows so far.
And how much did it cost you to fix the windows?
It was about $1,100. I don't have a receipt on me for that one.
Okay. Mr. Yanis, I'm giving you $2,500 to cover the expenses that you incurred in putting in new windows and seeing the best you can do with regard to taking out the dents in the car, which I did see. Mr. Pexy.
Yes, ma'am.
You tell a very, very good story. Not a persuasive story.
Well, I have a police report.
But a very good story. You have a police report made by whom?
West Hollywood Sheriff's Department.
Based on what?
This person that's actually suing me was convicted of a battery, non-desirous of persons, private persons, arrest myself.
They didn't tell me anything about that.
If you'd like to see it, you could check it out.
You mean he was convicted of battery
Yes,
on
ma'am.
you?
Yeah. Oh.
Sir, it may be. You're not suing him for battery.
Oh, I know, but why would I?
You're not suing him for battery.
Why would I
He's
go
suing
after
you
him?
for vandalizing his car.
But why would I go after him if I could have had him arrested for battery? I was kidnapped, almost, and...
Oh.
You're going to pay to fix his vandalized car, sir, which there is no question in my mind that you did. There is also no question in my mind that you precipitated this argument in the parking lot that day, not him. Because if you think that I believe this cockamamie story that you told me about getting to the club at 1:15 to have a hamburger while your 3 friends watched you after dressing for 2.5 hours to go out for an evening, I don't. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you. Parties are excused. You may step out.
Kelvin Sardin is suing his former friend, 21-year-old Megan Foote, for crashing his car while making a beer run. Megan claims the accident was a result of faulty steering.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 168 on the calendar in the matter of Sardin versus Foote.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Sardin, you allowed the defendant to borrow your car. She took your car. She totaled your car. You want it fixed or replaced.
Yes.
Ms. Foote says that you loaned her your car. She did total your car. It was your car's fault, and she's counterclaiming for the pain and suffering she endured when your car was in an accident. What kind of car was this?
The Lexus ES300,
What year?
1993.
How long have you had it?
About 7 to 8 years.
Have you had any trouble with the car?
No.
Has the car ever been in an accident?
No.
You have it serviced regularly?
Yes.
And it has never been in a reported accident other than this one?
No.
Tell me about the circumstances surrounding your loaning Ms. Foote the car.
She was supposed to go to the store.
Where were you first?
We was at a mutual friend's house. We was there for a birthday party for a little kid. I had showed up later on, and then...
What date was it?
March 17, 2007.
And I assume you knew her before?
Yes.
How long have you known each other?
For about a year and a half, closer to.
Just friends?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so go.
So I had let her borrow my car. She was supposed to go to the store. Now, in order...
Did she ask you to borrow the car?
Actually, we had needed to go on a store run, and I did not feel like going out. I had just came back from driving all day, so I did not feel like going out. So I had let Megan borrow the car.
Well, tell me how it came about.
We was talking, we was in a room, and then everybody was like, we need to go to the store. So I'm like,
What did you have to get?
We had to get cigarettes and beer.
Okay, go ahead.
And then I had let her borrow the car.
I still haven't heard how that came about. Somebody said we need cigarettes and beer.
Okay,
And?
we was talking, everybody was talking. I'm sitting there saying, I'm not going to the store. So then she had said, I'll go to the store, you know I'm good. And I said, Meg, I said, are you sure you straight? She was like, Cal, I'm good. So I let her borrow the car.
Oh, okay. So everybody had been drinking,
No, not everybody, no.
but you asked her whether she was okay.
Yes.
Anybody been doing drugs that evening?
No.
Smoking a little?
No.
Just beer?
Yes, beer and cigarettes.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so then she had asked me to borrow the car to go to the
To
store.
go. She said, I'll go.
Yes.
And I'm good.
Yes.
Which means that she was
Yes.
together enough to go.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So then she went to the store, and now from the house that we was at to go to the store, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to go to the store and back. So I had noticed my car hadn't been back in about a half an hour, so then I started to worry. And then so I had started to eat me some soup, and then after I finished the soup, I had noticed that my car still wasn't back. And then so one of my friends, female friends, had came over, and she was like, are you still waiting for your car? And I said, yes. And she was like, well, I think your car might have been involved in an accident up the block. And I was like, oh, no. So then I hopped in my friend.
Okay, and you found the car. Whatever. All right, you didn't witness the car accident, but you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you on your way to the store or from the store?
I was on my way from the store.
On your way back to the party?
Yes.
And what did you have in the car?
I had actually gone to pick up my roommate, and he was supposed to pick her up from work that evening. He had gotten intoxicated and forgot.
Who?
Calvin.
Was supposed to pick up your friend?
Yes.
Your Honor.
Fine. What about this beer and cigarette run?
We had gone to pick up cigarettes at the
Who
store.
did?
Me and my roommate.
So first you picked up your roommate.
Correct.
And then you went to pick up beer and cigarettes.
Cigarettes. There was
Just
no
cigarettes?
beer to be picked up. No.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
And then you were on your way home.
We were on our way back to the party.
How far from the party were you? About a block?
Probably a minute to 2 minutes away. A few blocks.
So tell me what happened.
I was driving. The steering had malfunctioned. Let me get over here. The steering had malfunctioned probably about around here, where the car had gone into the mailbox. One of my passengers that was sitting in the front passenger seat had stated that I was going to hit a mailbox.
Don't tell me what anybody stated to you.
So the car swerved this way. It had swerved back to the other side of the road. Then it went over to the other side again and had gone up on the grass, hit the telephone pole, and that's about all I remember because I was knocked unconscious.
You have a driver's license?
Yes, I do.
You have a car?
Not at the time, no, I did not have a vehicle.
Did you ever have a vehicle?
Yes.
What happened to the car?
I had sold it because of personal issues.
Sold it why?
I had been going, I'm a single mother, and I was more concerned about caring for my child at the time. The car was not in my expenses. It wasn't in my means at the time, so I sold the vehicle so I was able to accommodate my son as properly needed.
You work?
Yes, I do.
How do you get to work?
I have a vehicle now. I went and purchased a vehicle about a couple months ago.
This happened in March.
Correct.
A couple of months ago is April, May.
Right. I purchased a vehicle in May.
When had you sold your other vehicle?
That was, what, November of 2006?
From November until 2006 until May, what did you do?
I had family members helping me out. My brother
mean?
lent me his car every now and then.
Well, how did you get to work every day?
I would have my family members drop me off to work.
Who do you live with?
I live with my roommate.
She talks very, very fast on her feet.
Yana, can
But I don't believe everything that you're saying to me. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
You understand that? You know, because if something doesn't make sense, there's always that slight hesitation.
Right.
So you can always tell when somebody is giving you a line.
Right.
Making things up as they're going. You understand what I'm saying
Yes,
to you?
I do.
Perfect. Okay, where's the car now?
The car is total.
Total?
Yes, and I have pictures also right here showing
like
that
to
it's
see
total.
it.
And also I have an invoice from the place where it was totaled at, stating that it was a total loss.
Well, it certainly is a total loss. Did you replace it?
No.
You know what the blue book is on it?
Yes, I have it right here.
I'd like to see it.
There we go, right there. And also, Your Honor, just to make you aware, in that area it's a 30-mile-per-hour zone, and I have pictures of that showing that it's a 30-mile-per-hour zone.
I'd like to see that.
Yes.
Because this wasn't a 30-mile-per-hour accident.
No way.
Now, how fast were you going?
To be honest with you, I don't really recall, but I was never given a speeding ticket.
Were you taken to the hospital?
I refused the ambulance ride because I didn't know what kind of situation he had as far as insurance. I didn't want to put him into
Just a second.
financial debt.
What, are you kidding me? You didn't go to the hospital because you probably had a high blood alcohol level.
I was never given a sobriety test.
I didn't ask you that.
Also, Your Honor, I have in my police report where it says that she has slid 144 feet. Also, if you was doing about 50 miles per hour, you would have been able to stop at around 175
Well, you don't have
feet.
any expert testimony. She doesn't have any expert witness, do you? Are you a mechanic?
No, ma'am.
You're the friend. You're not a mechanic, are you? You have any proof that there was something wrong with his car?
No, I do not. Your Honor,
What?
I do have an eyewitness that was in the vehicle with me that saw the steering malfunction and lock up on me
Before or after you slammed on the brakes?
before.
Oh, really? Love to hear that witness. Love to hear that witness.
Do I stand up?
Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? The question is,
I was there.
are
and I
you
did
sure
see the-
you want to do this, is my
Yeah.
question. Fine.
Yes.
Over here. Your last name?
Rosado.
Miss Rosado, what arrangements had you made to go to the party?
Went to work and I was like, you know what, there's a birthday party, I can go to the party after work.
I said, what arrangements had you made to go to the party?
She was gonna come pick me up.
Now, what would possibly give her the impression that he was supposed to pick you up?
He had told me that day, he had dropped me off that morning to work.
Was there anything wrong with the car?
Not that morning,
How many times has he taken you to work?
a couple of times.
How many is a couple? A couple is two.
Maybe 4 or 5 times,
How many other times have you been in his car?
a lot of times.
Ever had any steering problems?
One time we were in the vehicle and he was like, did you guys feel that? It was his car basically what he was trying to say was his car was messed up when we was in the car.
Don't tell me basically what he was trying to say, madam. Tell me about What happened?
We was in the car one day, and we was driving on the highway. I believe they was on the highway. And we was on the highway, and he was like, wow, did you guys feel that? He's like, I have to get my car fixed.
When was that?
The day before we had the accident.
But it had nothing to do with the steering.
Maybe not. I'm not sure. I don't know nothing about cars, Yana.
Listen to me. The day before the accident, so he said to you, wow, something's wrong with the car. But yet you got in the car that morning for him to take you to work.
That's true.
Why would you put your life in your hands like that?
Don't know.
Only a stupid person would do that. You're not a stupid person, are you?
No.
Now, you want to tell me what you observed on the 17th of March?
We was in the vehicle. We was driving on Pritchard, which is the road.
How fast were you going?
I don't know, Your Honor.
Well, let me ask you this. Were you going 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour?
I wasn't the passenger. I was in the back seat. I wasn't looking at the speedometer.
You don't have to look at the speedometer to know whether you were going 30 miles an hour or 60 miles an hour.
I wasn't paying attention, Your Honor.
Perfect. Then you can sit down. If you weren't paying attention, I'm not interested in what you have to say. Anything else you wanted to say to me?
Yes, he signed up for an insurance policy where he knew he was only covered for him to drive his vehicle if anything were to happen in a situation like this. My question is, why would you let someone use your car when you know you're not insured if anything were to happen in your vehicle?
The question is whether you were driving negligently.
No, Your Honor, I wasn't.
That was sort of a rhetorical question. There's no question in my mind that you were speeding. Based upon the damage to this vehicle, there's no question in my mind that you were going over and above the speed limit. There's also no question in my mind that you had had something to drink that night. It's irrelevant, therefore, whether or not he had insurance that covered you. And if you got hurt, you shouldn't have driven too fast, and you shouldn't have had anything to drink while you were driving. That's the price that you pay when you act stupid. Meanwhile, you have to replace his car. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000, that's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was an unfair ruling, but there's nothing I could do at this point.
I'm happy with it. I'm very happy.
I was knocked unconscious at the scene. I had serious bruising.
Oh, it looked awful. That's all I can say. It was very bad.
I had not been drinking.
It was definitely reckless driving and also speeding.
Screaming, telling me that I was dead to him and all this other nonsense.
I was very upset.
If it was such a good friendship to begin with, it should have never been brought to a level like this. It should have been handled outside of a courtroom.
Hopefully we can move past this, you know. If she doesn't want to, hey, what can I say?
If you allow somebody to live with you for 13 months and do not collect utilities from them on a regular basis, I'm not going to waste my precious time, 2 graduate degrees, and go over month to month Con Edison bills.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of O'Henley versus Debnam. Step forward.
Brenda O'Henley and her brother Daniel are suing their former tenant, Jared Debnam, for unpaid rent and utilities. Jared says his living arrangements were substandard, so he's not paying.
You are brother and sister, is that correct?
Yes.
You bought a condo together?
Yes, 2 years ago.
You live together?
Yes.
Great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Get along?
Yeah. For the most part.
Fabulous. How much was this condo?
It was $770,000. It's now worth $950,000.
Perfect. So you bought this condo and you did a very foolish thing. You decided to take in a third roommate.
Yes.
That would be you. And according to your complaint, he owes you a whole bunch of money for rent and primarily for rent and utilities. Mr. Debnam says, well, there was never really a formal agreement about him paying so much per month, and he's got a whole host of other problems that he encountered while living with you. You moved a girlfriend in shortly after he moved in, so he didn't feel as if that was right. There was a leak, and some of his clothes got moldy, right?
Correct.
Have you always lived in the United States of America?
Yes, I have.
So you know that this is what we call a free country.
Correct.
If you don't like something, or if you don't like a place where you're living, what can you do?
Choose to move on?
Right. You don't choose to stay, kvetch, and don't pay. You move on to where there isn't a girlfriend, where there isn't a leak, where there isn't mold, but you don't stay and don't pay. Now, you lived there for a year, and you did pay some money in a bulk. You know, you didn't pay it by month because you were sort of not working, whatever. You got a check, and you gave them $4,000.
Well, that was just a part of the check from one of my financial aid checks.
Did you have your own bedroom?
Yes.
Did you have your own bathroom?
No.
Who did you share the bathroom with?
Everybody that used the house. As far as the communal upstairs bathroom, so it wasn't just my bathroom.
And what were you supposed to pay a month?
Before we moved in, I told him, being a graduating senior, that my money was based solely upon receiving periodic financial aid checks, at which time I told him this is how I'd be able to pay him whatever money. And so he knew about this situation before.
Tell me what he knew.
He knew that I would be getting financial aid checks each semester.
Fine.
And
So
that
you
from
did
those
get a-
checks, I would pay him what I could towards the money for living at his place.
Without any set amount? So you could have given him, let's say, $500 for 6 months, and that would have been okay.
No, Your Honor. He wanted to pay, or come to a limit to pay $750 a month.
Ah, okay. You know, I knew if you let you talk long enough,
okay.
if I let you talk long enough, eventually we were going to get someplace close to the truth, sir. So, according to you, he wanted $750 a month, which you agreed to pay when you got your financial aid checks.
Correct.
How much did you give him?
A little less than $7,500 total.
So that would be for 10 months. Did he give you $7,500?
Overtime, yes.
So how much do you think he owes you?
I've come up with about $6,000.
For what?
Well, it was $750 plus utilities and a sticker for him to park his car. I actually have a breakdown of the whole payment history that I
I don't need the whole
received.
payment history. If you acknowledge that he paid you $7,500, that's for 10 months. That means he owes you 3 months' rent, which is $2,250.
Well, do you not include utilities in that?
It does not include utilities,
Our
sir.
agreement included utilities.
Show me in writing.
It was a verbal agreement.
Well, what I'm telling you is, if you allow somebody to live with you for 13 months and do not collect utilities from them on a regular basis, I'm not going to waste my precious time, 2 graduate degrees, and go over month-to-month Con Edison bills. What I'm telling you is, if you got $750 a month from him, Mr. Rohenley, we wouldn't be standing here today.
Exactly.
Okay,
But
and
I
that's
would-
exactly what I'm going to give you.
I would still-
$750 a month for 13 months. He's already paid you for 10, which means he owes you $2,250. Now, is there any reason why I shouldn't enter a judgment in that amount, sir?
Just for the living condition that I was provided with when living at this place. This is why he didn't receive, or what I feel he got paid the full amount of what I was provided living at this place.
That's why we talked about a free country,
Correct.
Mr. Debnam.
Correct. And so
Free country means
that was my only
you.
complaint.
Who's the person that's raising her hand that's irritating
I would
me?
agree. Except for I just didn't have the
Who's
opportunity.
the person raising their hand that's irritating me?
This is my fiance. And she's the person who lived with me at this place, not lived, but came and stayed at my place. Or not
So
our
it
place,
wasn't
excuse me.
only his girlfriend that stayed. Your
No.
girlfriend stayed too.
I'm sorry.
Just a second.
4 or 5 days a week.
So it wasn't only his girlfriend that stayed. It was your girlfriend that stayed.
My girlfriend would come there every other weekend instead of
So?
the weekend. Correct.
So she stayed. And if she didn't like living there because of the cold and the mold, she wouldn't have come. Okay. Right?
Right.
Should have gone to her house. Why not stand there and kvetch, sir, that you didn't like the circumstances and you stayed anyway? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,250. That's all.
Pardon, Judge Judy. You may step.
19-year-old Jessica Grosheim is suing her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, 18-year-old Amber Snyder, for vandalizing her car and for assaulting her during a party.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 21 on the calendar, the matter of Grosheim versus Snyder.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Where's the boyfriend? He's your boyfriend. You dated him for a while.
Yeah.
And now the two of you are fighting with each other. Isn't that ridiculous? That is so ridiculous. Stand up. How are you related to this case?
She's my daughter.
And this is her boyfriend. Do you like him?
Love him.
Do you love him?
Love
Let
him.
me see if I love him.
He's a great kid.
Your first name is?
Kevin.
How old are you, Kevin?
I'm 18.
What do you do?
I work at Starbucks. I'm a barista.
When did you graduate from high school?
07.
And how long have you worked at Starbucks?
About 4, maybe 5 weeks.
What did you do before that?
Before that, I was a full-time student at Pierce College.
And what happened?
I needed money and I needed to work, so I cut my time at school so I could work and
And
pay
you go
bills.
to school too?
Mm-hmm.
How many credits are you taking?
Right now, 12.
And you're working at Starbucks to make money?
Yes.
So far, I'm loving him. Who do you live with?
My dad.
Get along okay?
Yeah.
Good. Anybody else live with you?
No.
Just the two of you?
Yeah, I left my mom's house when I was about 13.
And you've been with your dad for the last 5 years?
Yeah.
What college do you go to?
Pierce College.
Do okay?
Yeah, pretty good.
And this is your girlfriend?
Yes.
There came a time when you broke up and you were dating Miss Snyder?
I saw Jessica for about 3 years, from 9th grade through 11th. After that, we broke up for about, I would say maybe a year. In that time, I was best friends with Amber. And then we dated for about, I'd say maybe a week to 2 weeks.
When you say dated, does that mean from being friends you were intimate for about a week?
We were intimate for a little longer than that, but the actual name, girlfriend, boyfriend.
Was a week?
Probably, I think it was about a week.
Nothing to build a lifetime on?
No.
And then you went back to your girlfriend?
Yeah, a few months after.
could do worse? Sit down. It is your claim that Miss Snyder has twice vandalized your car and assaulted you.
Yes.
Miss Snyder says that she did not vandalize your car and that she really doesn't remember the assault because she was too drunk, if I'm reading your answer correctly.
I don't remember who started the fight, but I remember
You remember being in a fight, but you don't remember how it started.
the tussling on the ground.
Okay. Why don't you tell me when your car was vandalized?
It happened twice. And the first time, I believe it happened August 24th or August 25th, one of those.
Of 07.
Yes. I was at my friend Alexis's house, who's here with me right now, and she had some people over. Kevin came, and Amber and I believe Cameron, which is her other witness, dropped Kevin off. And
To drop him off?
Yes. They weren't invited. Amber later came back and picked up Kevin, and in the morning when I woke up, my car was keyed. Everybody at that house, like I was really good friends with for years.
So you think it was the defendant?
Yes. And everybody, I know they're not here with me right now, but people agree.
I'm a witness.
Is that the only evidence that you have that Miss Snyder keyed your car?
For the keying, yes.
So you understand that that's not sufficient evidence?
Yes.
Okay. So that incident that happened on the 24th or the 25th of August is dismissed. What's next?
Okay, so even prior to that, she was...
Go prior.
Okay, well, after that also, she was calling Kevin, threatening to, my car, to me up if I was around. She wouldn't come anywhere if I was there, and she was complaining that I was stealing all of her friends from her when it was really her who was keeping herself from coming. She actually have MySpace messages that she posted. Would you like to read them? Okay.
I would like to know what this has to do with the second act of vandalism.
Well, she was telling me to watch my back. She was calling me a stupid. She wrote, "I won't hesitate to smash your ugly face in. You seriously hope you should never see me." She admitted that this was about me, said that the next time she sees me, she will make a move. She's not scared of anyone, and everybody knows that she can beat my... We could ask anyone.
Just a second. Can we get to the second act of vandalism on your car?
Yes, this all ties into it. Because this is what she wrote on MySpace, and then it happened. She was calling Kevin constantly, saying, "Why the is that car at your house? What is she doing over there?" Like, that happened multiple times.
I understand that she's using some profanity. You don't have to keep using it.
Sorry. So she basically had the motive and the opportunity to mess with my things.
Okay. So that also, you understand, is not evidence.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the assault.
Well, I guess it ties into what I was telling you before. She actually got in a physical fight with her, Alexis, because she was defending me in this message. And after that, I saw her at multiple parties. Alex, which will probably deny it, came over to me telling me to leave the parties because Amber's threatening to kick my, butt or whatever.
Those aren't my exact words.
No, well, those aren't her exact words, but she was telling me to leave because of Amber. It happened multiple times. I stayed away from her. One party, a whole bunch of her friends were holding her back. She threatened to spit on me.
Would you tell me what happened with regard to the assault, please?
Okay, so the final actual assault that happened.
Date?
March 7th? Yeah, March 7th. One of our friends were having a party, and we were both there, and it was really big. There were lots of rooms, lots of people there. Well, at one point in the night, she walked by me and, pushed me, with her shoulder, and I told her not to push me. She got in my face, said she could push me if she wants to. There was some, profanity in there. One of my guy friends broke us up. Well, not really broke us up. He just stood to make sure nothing happens. Well, closer to the end of the night, she had ran over to Kevin and was telling him, you better take, your whatever girlfriend outside. I'm gonna beat her face in, or whatever she was saying. And then Kevin, literally dragged me outside. She ran out there with a bottle of something in her hand. She was in my face. We were both yelling at each other. I told her to put the bottle down, because in the past, she has actually smashed bottles over people's heads.
And present.
Yes, and present. And it's ironic, because she actually did it to her boyfriend that she has now, to his ex-girlfriend a few weeks ago. And it's the truth.
Just tell me what happened to you.
So she was yelling at me. She put the bottle down. I went to turn around. She punched me in the face. Where we ended up on the floor, punching, hitting, kicking each other.
Just a second. Well, that's a fight.
Yes.
But she put her hands on you first.
Yes. She punched me when I turned around.
Were you injured?
I had bruises and I had some scratches on my face.
Yeah.
And I have a chiropractor bill also.
I'd like to see.
Okay.
Ms. Snyder, you understand that you have lots of questions to answer for me.
Yes.
Sorry. Your Honor, can I say something as well?
About?
About the all the assaults that were going on.
I'm only here about one assault.
Well, it was one physical assault, but there was many threats.
I'm not interested in the threats. I'm here about this assault.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't think it was intentional. I think
Of course it was intentional. I don't care.
care.
Listen to me. I don't care about what the operation of your mind is. All you tell me is what you saw and what you heard.
Time says her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, Amber Snyder, vandalized her car and assaulted her during a party. Amber denies the vandalism and claims Jessica started the fight.
What I want to know, Miss Snyder, is why, and it's clear to me, you're angry with her.
Very.
Why?
Because just animosity built up from,
No,
me and her
just-
became friends for after all the vandalizing happened. And we became friends for about, like, I'd say December to, like, March. And, I mean, we hung out, we called each other. Like, it wasn't just, oh, it's okay to hang out. We actually called each other on our own cell phones. And then, like, she was
And this
like...
was after.
This was after the vandalizing happened.
This is after.
I have proof that we weren't friends. Right here.
Hey, she didn't interrupt you. You're not to interrupt her. Do we understand each other? This was after you and Kevin were no longer seeing each other.
Yeah.
So this
way
is in
after.
March.
This started in December, and then it ended in March. Then we made an agreement where, like, she was like, okay, well, I'd rather have your friendship over, like, Kevin. And I was like, okay. And then
So she said to you, I prefer having a friendship with you and not being with Kevin.
Yeah.
And then she went back to Kevin.
Yeah, and then it was
just a second. And that's why you're angry.
Yeah, because I like being friends with her. And then it was, like, downhill.
What's your first name, Amber?
Yeah.
Amber, listen to me very carefully, sweetheart. Men are never worth fighting over.
I've heard from a lot of people now.
Get one, find another one. Do you understand? Never worth two women fighting over. It's demeaning. Second, I think that as much as he's a very nice guy, the fact that he was intimate with this young lady for a week shows just a little bit of a flaw in his character. A little bit of a flaw, because she clearly thought that she was a more important person in his, put your hand down, more important person in his life than he did. Women tend to hold on to that feeling. You understand that?
I've been with my husband since I was 16, so...
So you get it?
I get it.
You get it.
But I would never fight over a man.
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous. Fight the man. Beat him up.
But, Your Honor, she wasn't fighting over him. She was.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
She. You want to get... I never understand why they go after the new girlfriend. They ought to go after the husband. That's what they should go after. What are they going after the new girlfriend for? Listen, I don't know whether you vandalized her car. Only you know whether you vandalized her car. If you did it, whether you did it alone or with your friends, only you know that. Unfortunately, in a courtroom setting, we have proof, and that doesn't rise to the level of proof. So now you're going to tell me that you don't remember how this fight got started on March 7th.
I do remember all the yelling, and then, I don't know, I admit that I was maybe a little too drunk, and I just blacked out, and all of a sudden I remember being pulled to the ground and her being on top of me.
I was with her that night, and I witnessed the whole thing, and I had not had a sip of alcohol.
Then, just a second, then come up here and I'm going to hear you. Tell me your name.
I'm Alex DiLorenzo.
Okay.
Okay. A lot of things Jessica was saying about that night are true. When she was walking by, Amber did brush her on her shoulder. There's obviously tension.
What's a brush? Explain to me what a brush is.
Sorry if I'm not using the right words.
No, I want to know what a brush is.
When they were walking by...
Is it a body? Is it a body thing? So
yeah, like a hit on the shoulder, and it's like kind of like a get out of my way. They were both in the room. They don't like each other. They've had problems in the past, so...
Just listen to me. She body Englished her.
I don't think it was intentional. I think
Of course it was intentional. I don't care. Listen to me. I don't care what you think.
Okay.
I don't care about what the operation of your mind is. All you tell me is what you saw and what you heard. And what you saw is Miss Snyder pushing her body against the plaintiff. That's what we saw. And then what did you see?
Okay. They got into a verbal confrontation.
Miss Grosheim said, what? Do you remember?
Yes.
No, don't listen to me. Don't make it up.
No, Amber, don't effing push me or something like that.
Fine. I believe that she probably said it because that doesn't sound like it's something unusual for her to say.
Okay. After that, things had settled. Jessica was in a different room. Amber was in a different room. At that point, they got into another confrontation.
How did they... Just a second. They were each in separate rooms. Were they screaming at each other from room to room?
No.
No, look. I ask the questions. You answer the questions. What room was Miss Snyder in?
The living room.
Sure. Don't go any further. The defendant was in the living room. And where was the plaintiff?
The house had two living rooms. One was close to a backyard, which is where Miss Amber was. And then Jessica was in...
Don't clack up with the bracelets, please.
Sorry. And then the living room, there was a pool table closer to the door of the front entranceway. There was two living rooms. Like, you walk in through the house like this, the door.
Don't tell me like this, like this. They were each in a separate room,
living room.
Separate living rooms. Okay. And when they got into the confrontation, in what room was the confrontation? Look at me. In what room was the confrontation?
The kitchen.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The boyfriend came in because he heard the screaming back and forth. He grabbed her and said, let's get outside. You followed her outside. Now tell me what happened outside, Miss Troublemaker.
Closed captioning sponsored by Rosheim says her boyfriend's ex, Amber Snyder, owes for vandalism and an assault.
Who went into the kitchen?
I'm not sure who was in there first.
So you don't know, so that they weren't in two separate rooms.
No, this was all verbal fighting. The physical assault hadn't happened yet.
I'm talking about how they ended up in the same room to have a verbal confrontation.
They both had to have walked in there, I guess, at different times. And
You didn't see who walked in from where?
No, I did not see because I was with Amber, and I know when we walked in, and I think Jessica was already in there, but like I said, I'm not sure.
So Miss Grosheim was already in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And you walked in with Miss Snyder to the kitchen.
We had no idea.
Just a sec. Don't tell me what was in the operation of her mind. Hers. You walked into where she was in the kitchen. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what happened when you got there?
Amber saw that she was in the room, and they both started arguing.
No. Somebody said something first. And if you don't remember, I would suggest you say, I don't remember.
That's what I was going to tell you. I don't remember who said something first. That's why I said they started verbally arguing.
Okay, but Miss Snyder went into the area where Miss Grosheim was.
Yes.
And where did this altercation continue?
Jessica was dragged outside, and we were all...
Was dragged outside by whom? Look at me. Was dragged outside by whom?
Kevin and other people, her friends that she wasn't with, and we were being forced
Just a second. So Kevin took his girlfriend and pulled her outside. And right now in the kitchen, all there was going on was a lot of verbal back and forth.
Yes.
So now Miss Grosheim is outside with her boyfriend, correct?
Correct.
And where is the lovely Miss Amber?
With me, and we're being forced out of the house at this point.
Just a second. I want you to tell me being forced is not what happened. I want you to tell me where you went from the kitchen.
We went in the front yard from the kitchen. The owner of the house asked us to leave at this point because of all the verbal confrontations. So we were asked to leave. We walked outside. From there, another verbal altercation started.
Just a minute. Let's look at the objective data, Miss Troublemaker. The plaintiff was in the kitchen. You followed her into the kitchen. The boyfriend came in because he heard the screaming back and forth. He grabbed her and said, let's get outside. They took her outside. And then you and Miss Amber went outside where she was, where the verbal back and forth continued. So she left the area. You followed her outside. Now tell me what happened outside.
They started arguing.
Again, right?
Yes, they started arguing again, but this time Jessica said something to Amber, like Amber's boyfriend at the time was there, and Jessica said, he's a great guy, he's a great guy, something about, why are you doing this? And she started unloading things, saying things to obviously get a rise out of her, things like,
Just a second.
why do you care?
That's not getting a rise out of her, you idiot. That's saying, why are you continuing this? You have a nice boyfriend. Why don't you get over this? That's what you said. Just a second. That's what you said, she said.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What was the result of that?
A friend that was there, I believe he was a friend of Jessica's, came in between
Listen
them.
to me. I don't care what you believe. Somebody got in between them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, don't go over there, right here. And then...
It looked like Jessica pushed her.
What do you mean? What do we mean by that, sweetheart? It looked like Jessica pushed her. Is that the brush, like the brush
No.
with the shoulder?
No.
Explain to me, what do you mean? It looks like Jessica
There's a person between them, and Jessica puts her arms up.
And?
And then Amber went in to hit her.
And now you can sit down. You gotta learn to keep your hands to yourself. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. How can I throw to you, Ryan?
It wasn't within the same. That's bullshit. Lied about something. She did. I can't lie about everything, though. When I'm telling the story, I have to tell the truth.
Judge Judy continues. Dennis Nelson is suing his adopted son, 22-year-old Christopher Nelson, for the value of a Corvette. Dennis claims Christopher illegally sold the vehicle.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 171 on the count in the matter of Nelson versus Nelson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Nelson, this is your son.
Yes.
You were married to his mother, and did you formally adopt him?
Yes.
And you are now divorced from his mother?
Yes.
When was that divorce?
September.
Of?
06.
According to your complaint, you believe that your son owes you for a car that you gave to him, titled in his name, but with a condition. And the condition was the car would be returned to you if and when he joined the Navy.
He told me he was already signed up for the Navy in January.
Right. So that was the condition that you indicated.
To get him off of a motorcycle that he was riding rather recklessly.
Right. And you said to him, his car, putting it in your name, when you go into the Navy, I want you to give it back.
Right.
Did you ever go into the Navy?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Nelson, I read your whole complaint, and your whole complaint has sort of a convoluted story about certain trust that you had in your son to do the right thing. He took the car, he sold it to somebody else, then he took it back, then he sold it to another person. Bottom line is, I read your complaint very carefully, sir, and your complaint is clear. Even if I believe what you said in your complaint, which was you gave him this car, you transferred the title to him, is that correct? He insured the car himself, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you pay for the insurance yourself?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how long did you drive the car?
Only for a couple months, Your Honor.
And you sold it and bought something else?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Nelson, stop playing with your papers.
Okay.
Because you're not going to understand what I'm saying to you unless you pay attention.
Gotcha.
If I believe what you say in your complaint, you made him a conditional gift. And the condition of that gift was that the car would be returned to you when he entered the Navy. But he has not entered the Navy.
Okay.
So how can you get the car back? Or the value of the car?
Okay.
Do you understand? I know that you're angry with him. I don't know exactly why. Maybe we can resolve that. But the conditional gift that you made to him it becomes a permanent gift if he never joins the Navy. Is it your intention to join the Navy?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
I decided to keep pursuing my medical field that I am now.
And not join the Navy? Okay. Ever. When did you give him the car, Mr. Nelson, just for my own information?
September 27, 06.
And you titled it in that same month. And when did you sell the car, sir?
Down in October, around.
Who'd you sell it to?
I didn't personally meet them. My stepfather actually had it in Desert Hot Springs, and he sold it for me.
To whom did you sell it?
To a private party out of Banning.
Stand up. How much did you sell it for?
Your Honor, Christopher owed me some money, so he'd gotten another vehicle. So in lieu of the money that he owed me...
What did he owe you money for?
Personal loans.
Explain it to me.
Just everyday living, helping him with insurance, paying for some of his tuitions through furthering his education in the EMS field, things of that nature.
How much did he owe you?
About $4,500. Educations are expensive.
How long have you been married to his mother?
Since July of 06.
You were divorced in September of 06. So how could you be married in July of 06?
It was a typo on the court's behalf, and we're since straightening that out in litigation.
What do you mean you're straightening that out? What does that mean?
Well, what it means is there was a typo that instead of putting a 9 when the divorce would have been finalized, it would look like a 7. So we went forward with the wedding. Come to find out later that it was a typo, so we're in litigation now at the courts to rectify that.
Why don't you just get married again?
We will, sir. Ma'am, when we're done with this. Pardon me.
May I enter?
Just a second. So let's assume he owed you $4,500 in the relatively short time that you've been together with his mother. How much did you sell the car for?
That exact amount.
To whom?
I don't know the name of the person. I took the car to my place of employment, placed a for sale sign in it, and 5 hours later sold the car. I don't know the name of the people. I really didn't expect this
A man or a woman?
It was a man for his daughter.
Did you get a check or cash?
I received cash.
Do you know that I don't believe a word that's coming out of your mouth?
I'm sorry.
Do you know
I'm sorry.
that I don't really believe a word that's coming out of your mouth? Do you trust him?
I know it was true.
Well, let me tell you something. Most of what he just told me was not true.
I beg to differ, Your Honor.
Oh,
on this day that
you can do all you like, sir, but I understand.
I just swore between God and this court to tell the truth.
Quiet. I understand why Mr. Nelson is annoyed. The truth of the matter is, he made a conditional gift, and it didn't work out the way he had assumed it would work out. He certainly wasn't giving his son a car to give to you, to give you money. And so I can understand why he's annoyed. I understand why you're annoyed, sir.
Thank you.
Okay?
When I get a chance, I'd like to explain.
Go ahead.
First, the car was stolen from her. She has a judgment on it.
A judgment? What do you mean it was stolen from you?
He sold the car to her, not to him.
Who sold the car to her?
Christopher sold the car to her.
Which is Christopher?
Christopher.
You sold the car to this lady?
For $7,500.
I'm speaking.
No, Your Honor.
You did not.
No, Your Honor.
Where's the judgment?
I'd like to explain.
Go ahead.
When I received the car, I heard from a friend that I believe Kelly was looking for a car around, $5,000, $7,500 or so. And so me and her were talking and everything, but she only had about $2,500 to give me. I knew she was going through some hard time, so we made a verbal agreement that she was to have possession of the car and I was to retain ownership until final payment. After a couple of weeks, I kept getting the same response that...
How much money did she give you?
She gave me $2,500 as a down payment, and then I was still waiting on $5,000 when she went down to her security lockbox at quote-unquote Pachanga. Well, after many weeks of trying to talk to her and give me the same excuse, it wasn't until after I talked to a lawyer and a detective from the Marietta Police Department about the legal part of it that I was in full right to go and repossess my vehicle.
What'd you do with the $2,500?
She took me to court.
And what happened with it?
I even told her that I would give her the
What
back.
happened with it?
I was unable to attend.
What do you mean you were unable to attend?
I had a class that I was already enrolled in to further my...
Go ahead.
I have a witness in the back.
You didn't know you could appeal.
For what?
I will testify
To what?
to whatever you want to hear.
Well, I
He'll
don't want to testify to whatever
he
I
will
want to hear.
testify to the fact that he did steal the car. He was paid in
Just
full.
a second. Just a second. You have a judgment against him for $7,500?
She has the judgment.
You have a judgment against him, so there's no question.
Here's the bill of sales for the other car.
A court has already ruled on that.
On that one.
On this one.
But the other witness will testify that he did take the car.
No, I got it. He said he repossessed the car, and he couldn't go to the hearing, to the court date, because he had a class.
Okay.
And then he took the car back, and he gave it to his stepfather, who sold it, according to him, for
Here's the bill of sales on
$4,500.
there, on
Can I see the bill of sale?
The ones that he can't find.
Your last name is Mater?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I have a bill of sale, sir, with your signature on it, indicating that you sold this car to Joanna for
the name.
$5,700.
I don't recall it being 57.
Well, why don't you take a look at this, sir?
Okay. I don't remember it being that much either.
Obviously, this is a second-generated bill of sale with the price altered. I'm not a liar. I'm a man of integrity. Have fun.
Listen, I don't have to get into all of this. You can sit down. I can understand why your father is angry with you. He made a gift to you. He was hoping that you would be able to use that gift and drive safely with that gift. And he didn't do it to line the pockets of anybody else, including taking care of the bills that you allegedly owed to your stepfather. He was trying to help you. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, is there any reason why you did that?
What, Your Honor?
Took a wonderful gesture and made it not wonderful anymore.
It wasn't a wonderful gesture, Your Honor.
No, it wasn't?
No, Your Honor.
Well, let me ask you this question, sir. Do you think that your father could have sold that car to somebody else? Put your hand down. Well, you sold it to somebody for $7,500. He sold it to somebody for $5,700. Don't you think your father could have sold it to somebody else for $5,000?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's an answer. Instead, he gave it to you. Write it off. Mr. Nelson, legally, I can't help you because the condition was that you get it back.
Is what it is.
You get it back if he joined the Navy. Didn't join the Navy. He's not going to join the Navy. Unfortunate. Sometimes your best intentions are not necessarily.
His words were he signed up for the Navy in January.
I understand that.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you very much.
Good
Your
enough.
case is
Thank you.
dismissed. That's all. You owe him an apology.
That'll never happen.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It is what it is. Liars, cheats, and thieves. The whole family.
He can't handle the fact that he has no control.
The captain of the fire department is less than honest.
The judge tried to attack my character, which was wrong. I was truthful as much as I could remember.
He's using his position to get personal vendettas.
He's jealous that I am married to his wife and basically have taken his prized possessions.
I just don't like dishonest people.
This guy is definitely less than stable. I just hope for society's sake they take care of this guy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lawler versus Fletcher step forward.
Brittany Lawler claims ex-boyfriend Nathan Fletcher broke their apartment lease. Nathan says Brittany kicked him out after he spanked her son.
Ms. Lawler, according to your complaint, you and the defendant lived together, signed a one-year lease in an apartment. You moved in, there were three of you. You, the defendant, and you have a child who's 6. You lived together and everything was pretty okay for a while, and then there was an incident involving your son. And the incident involving your son surrounded an eating tantrum that he had. And according to Mr. Fletcher, he threw a tantrum and Mr. Fletcher spanked him. After that, the two of you separated, never got back together again. Mr. Fletcher did pay the rent for a couple of months and then stopped. You want him to pay the last 3 or 4 months' rent because he signed the lease with you. Mr. Fletcher says that he really anticipated that you would be back together again, that you told him to leave, and that he's not going to pay any rent since you asked him to leave. You not only asked him to leave, you told him to leave. I believe in your answer, Mr. Fletcher, you say that her parents gave her an ultimatum. Either you left or they were taking her son.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what happened?
No.
Well, we'll find out. If they did say that, it probably would have been the right thing to do. Mr. Fletcher.
Yes, ma'am.
There are certain given facts in this case. You signed a joint lease, which obligated you to pay half the rent. You did not pay half the rent for how many months? 3?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
Is that right? Yeah. 3 months. But for the other 7 months, you did. And what was your share of the rent?
$745 a month.
And yours was $745?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you living now?
I'm still living there. The lease is not up yet, and I'm moving back in with my parents.
Who's paying the rent now?
I am.
From what?
I had to borrow money. I had to take out a personal loan with a bank in order to cover the rent.
Do you work?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Fletcher, tell me when you spanked her son.
It was evening of the 8th, Monday. Had cooked some dinner for him. Huh?
8th of what?
January. He was eating dinner, and all of a sudden, he just started having a little tantrum, and I told him to stop, spitting food all over the carpet, told him to go to his room, wouldn't comply, so I spanked him.
Why don't you just pick him up and put him in his room?
Didn't think about it.
How old is he?
He was 5 at the time.
Where did you spank him?
On his bottom.
What'd you use?
Back of my hand.
How many times did you hit him?
I hit him once.
Once?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
I wasn't there. I'd have to take his word or my son's word. So.
Well, you don't have to take his word. What did your son say?
My son said that he had hit him very hard, so he was upset.
Is there any mark on him?
There was a little mark, yes.
You told your parents?
Yes.
And what happened?
When I saw it, I asked him, I said, you know what, you can't stay right now. This is not going to be a good situation. I don't know what's going to happen. I asked him to leave temporarily while he maybe did some parenting classes, maybe anger management or something to help cool things down and maybe fix the situation so that we could stay together.
So what do you want him to do?
I want him to fulfill his obligation and continue to pay the rest of the rent.
But he can't live there, Miss Lawler.
He can't live there because of his own behavior, because of his own actions.
I mean, I don't think if he hit... I'm not advocating, Mr. Fletcher, using corporal punishment on your child. Let's start with that. However, since you left him with your son in a position of parenting authority, there's a difference between corporal punishment and excessive corporal punishment. If Mr. Fletcher says he hit him once on the behind, and that's what he says, and you have no reason to dispute that, and if you told him to leave as a result of that, and he did not have the ability to stay in the apartment because of that, he shouldn't have to pay the rent.
He signed the lease, and because of his actions...
You move.
How am I going to move with my son when everything in that apartment was mine?
Listen to me, Miss Lawler. That's a choice that you have. Instead of telling him to leave, say, listen, we have the following choices. We're both on this lease. I can't afford the rent because I'm not working. I'm going to move back with my parents. You can stay in the apartment. Or if I stay in the apartment, we have to do something with the lease. But you told him to leave.
It's temporary.
No.
Yes, it doesn't.
No, you gave him... No.
No.
My dear, temporary.
He left some of his stuff in the apartment, so he knew it was not permanent. I told him, you get some parenting classes, you do some counseling, and you can
has nothing to do with the lease.
Yes, it does. It has everything to do with
Miss Lawler has nothing to do with the lease, madam. He didn't sign a lease and sign on to take on parenting classes or anger management classes. That wasn't a condition of his lease.
No, he did sign a lease that he would fulfill his obligation to pay his rent for the entire year. It doesn't matter what happened. He has an obligation to finish paying the rent.
That's why you're here. He did, in fact, pay 2 months' rent when he wasn't living there.
Yes, because he said he would continue to pay the rent because it was his obligation.
And I'm telling you that you told him to leave.
I asked him to leave temporarily until the situation calmed down. Am I supposed to put my son and me in some situation
when is your lease? When is your lease?
Comfortable?
Listen to me. When is your lease up?
My lease is up at the end of this month.
Well, you should have come to court earlier. I would have told you to go back to your parents earlier and told him to move back into the apartment.
What I have done? He can't pay the rent. We would have both still been on the lease, and we both still would be...
Miss Lawler, that's a what if. And what I'm telling you is the lease is up in 20 days. Instead of waiting 20 days, you should have sued him before. Should have gone in the first month that he said, I'm not paying any more rent.
I couldn't, because I have to go back every month.
And then I would have said to you, Miss Lawler, go home to your parents now. Mr. Fletcher, you go back to the apartment and continue to pay the rent.
He couldn't have paid the rent by himself. Either way, if he had stayed or I'd stayed, it doesn't matter. We would still be in the same situation.
Miss Lawler, right now, he paid rent for 2 months in an apartment where he was not living.
He was not living.
You threw him. Don't you get it?
I did not throw him out. I asked him to temporarily leave. That's not...
When did you invite him back?
I wouldn't invite him back.
Just answer my question.
If you would let
When did you invite him? You said, I asked him to leave temporarily. When did you invite him back? On what date?
I told him he could come back when he took some counseling.
He doesn't have to do that,
Well,
madam.
then he doesn't have to continue the relationship with me. If that was the circumstances, he knew that when he moved out, that he needed to get some help to continue the relationship so that he can move back in. It was not just the spanking of my son that started this. He has been unstable and yelling, screaming, accusing me of cheating. Every other week,
That's a whole other. Then you should have gone home to your parents earlier, Miss Lawley. Your case is dismissed. That's.
Welcome to today's exciting video, where we bring you a courtroom drama over a diamond watch. In this case, Sarah accuses Lisa of taking her valuable diamond watch and demands its return. However, Lisa denies the accusation, claiming she is innocent and never took the watch. Watch as both sides present their arguments and evidence in court with tensions running high. Who will the judge believe, and who will walk away with the coveted diamond watch? Stay tuned to see how this case unfolds. Judge, good afternoon. Today we are here to hear the case between two friends, Sarah Miller, the plaintiff, and Lisa Green, the defendant, regarding the disappearance of a diamond encrusted watch from the office. Sarah Miller claims that the watch, a valuable gift from her grandmother, went missing while at the office, and she accuses Lisa Green of stealing it. Lisa Green denies the allegations. Sarah, please state your case. Sarah Miller, the plaintiff. Yes, Your Honor, I have worked with Lisa for the past 3 years and we have always had a good relationship. However, things changed when my diamond watch went missing from my desk in the office last week. This watch has sentimental value to me. It was a gift from my late grandmother. I had placed it on my desk when I arrived at work on Monday, and by lunchtime it was gone. I searched the entire office, but it was nowhere to be found. I have reason to believe that Lisa took it. She was the only one near my desk that morning, and when I asked her about it, she seemed nervous and avoided eye contact. Judge, Lisa, how do you respond to these allegations? Lisa Green, the defendant. Your Honor, I am completely innocent. I did not steal Sarah's watch. Yes, I was near her desk that morning, but I was simply passing by to get some papers from the printer, which was next to her desk. I did not touch anything on her desk, let alone her watch. Sarah and I are friends, and I would never do something like that. It's possible that someone else took the watch or that it was misplaced. Sarah Miller, the plaintiff. Lisa, I understand that you are denying it, but it's hard for me to believe that my watch just disappeared without anyone